becomes a spark. Every soul ignites the dark. In the glow of endless skies, hear our future harmonize. Thriving is our resistance. This is how we stay alive. Am Yisrael Thrive.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on this very special episode of Am Yisrael Thrive. My name is Shayna Netanya, and thriving is our resistance. So welcome to our Sunday together. I was so very shocked when this gentleman agreed to come on our show, just because I've heard so many wonderful things about him. I've heard so many people talk about the amazing discussions he's given. And I will say that my discussions with him this morning have proven just as meaningful. And I can't wait to share our guest today, Mr. Sami Steigmann, with all of you today. Mr. Steigmann is an Holocaust educator, a Holocaust survivor, and he has spent his life educating people as to the horrors of what can actually happen when the world decides to get rid of its Jews. So without further ado, I'm going to bring our guest on today, Mr. Sami Steigmann, to the stage. Hello, Mr. Steigmann. Welcome to Am Yisrael Thrive.
Good afternoon to everybody, to your audience, to you. I'm very honored to be here, and at the same time, this will be a conversation because I know very little about you, and I want also to ask things about you. So, okay, it's your show. Okay, go ahead.
Absolutely, and the questioning both ways is totally fine by me. I myself, just like you, am also an open book, so feel free to ask away. I'd like to try to, for those of our viewers who don't know you very well, to get a little bit of a background on your family. So share with us where your family came from.
Okay. My mother and I were born in an area that does not exist anymore. It was called the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The interesting part of it is that the emperor, Franz Joseph, was extremely benevolent to the Jewish people. So a lot of the Jewish people that lived in that particular area adopted the German culture. My mother and I were born in Bukovina, in a city called Chernovitz. Chernovitz was probably the most, or one of the most Yiddish-speaking cities in the world at that time. My father, on the other hand, was born in Ukraine. In Romania proper. I was born on December 21st, 1939, and my parents and I were deported by the Romanians, not by the Germans. Okay. So that's very briefly. So when I say that I was born in December, it means that the war was already at least 3 months. Okay, going on.
Now, what do you remember from being a small child during that time?
Well, what do you remember when you were 2 years old?
Not much.
Okay, guess what? Neither do I. And until the Eichmann trial in Israel in 1961, the Holocaust survivors did not speak publicly, with very few exceptions, and at the same time, they wanted the children to have a normal childhood. So they did not talk to the children about their experiences. Okay, so for 63 years, I felt that I don't belong to the Holocaust survivors, and also at the same time, I did not feel that I belonged to the children of the Holocaust survivors because most of them were born in displaced in DP camps, displaced people, which those camps were liberated by the Allies, the Americans, Russians, Brits, Australians. They had to be there for 3 to 5 years because no country wanted them. They had to live in difficult conditions, but the daily threat of being murdered did not exist.
Yeah, I
So,
had
and
I
so
had
two
heard.
things, yeah, so two things have happened, which I'll tell you later, that put me on the speaking circuit.
Yeah, I had just watched a Holocaust documentary, and that was one of the things that they said made it so difficult to get Jews out of Europe at the time, was because it was the Great Depression, and everywhere had a hard time already feeding their own citizens. They really couldn't afford to take on any new citizens, and so that to me I thought was a very sad thing. What You had mentioned that many Holocaust survivors until the Eichmann trial didn't really talk publicly about being Holocaust survivors. Why was that?
Well, they felt ashamed, felt guilty. Okay, like my father, he felt guilty. How come from the 42 uh, close family members, only two survived? So, he, like other survivors, felt guilty. How come they couldn't save somebody? Obviously, they couldn't, but the guilt feeling was there. I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. First of all, I want you to tell me your story because it's a fascinating one. But at the same time, I want you to tell your audience why do we have to talk about the Holocaust forever and ever?
Great. Well, my story is this, and I don't talk about it a lot. In fact, this may be some new information for those that follow me. I actually converted to Judaism when I was 18 years of age. And a lot of people would ask me, well, why would you do that? And I can never really give a very direct answer. Back then at the time, it just felt like, okay, it's just one other thing I have to do to become fully myself. And it was one of the first decisions I made as an adult as to who I would be. And fast forward 30 years later to 47-year-old me.
You don't look it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I never would have thought back then, going through the conversion process, that I one day would be beaten by a pack of Jew haters, like what happened to me last year, and what is now, pushing me to make Aliyah. For those that have been following my Aliyah journey, I have my visa in hand, and now I'm just working on scheduling the flight. And I never thought back then at 18 years of age, I would one day become Israeli because of Jew hatred. And so my entire life, I've always been fascinated by the Shoah. I have studied it a lot. I studied it a lot during my conversion process. But I think it's important to keep educating people about this, lest we repeat these mistakes again. And for me, I already believe I'm seeing history repeating itself, which is why I wanted to have you on my show.
Okay. So, I'll give you a different answer why we have to talk about it forever and ever. From my perspective, unless somebody can convince me otherwise, the Holocaust is the best example what hate can do not only to a person, but to a group of people, to a nation, and to the world. The whole world was involved in trying to annihilate one group of people from the face of the earth, the Jewish people. Thankfully, they did not succeed, and we are here to stay, whether the world likes it or not. Am Yisrael
Exactly.
Thrive.
Exactly. Am Yisrael Thrive. What do you think were some of the things that, like you said, some of your family perished? Why do you think that you survived, and what other family members survived with you?
Uh, Number one, it was hope. Okay, they wanted to go through everything that they went through to find out who survived, who did not. At the same time, the other reason is people that had faith. Okay, uh, they understood that that is something coming from above. Okay, and they were able to survive. A number of them, people that did not have any faith whatsoever, because of the dire consequences, a lot of them committed suicide. At the same time, when I go to schools, it's very important for me to talk to the teachers because most of the crimes were committed by educated people, engineers, doctors, nurses, teachers. So I tell the teachers to teach not only the mind, but also the heart. And later on, I will uh, tell you how the Holocaust happened, to go through the stages. And I do not want anybody to make comparisons to the past. I want them to learn from the past, uh, why it kept escalating to a point of no return. So people will know how to, by learning from the past, they will know how to prevent future tragedies.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like right now, especially, there are two moments from the history that I kind of feel like we're currently reliving. Number one is 1979 in Iran, where the Red Green Alliance are trying to take power. I see that so much. I feel like with the DSA trying to align with all of these Muslim Brotherhood Islamic groups inside the United States and the West. And then I also kind of feel like it's around 1933, 1935-ish, like when Jewish businesses were being just drawn on with the yellow stars in front of their buildings, and the Gestapo was standing outside Jewish businesses, not allowing regular Germans to come shop anymore. And it's scary for me. I think it's scary for a lot of Jews. What do you think is something that you can tell all of the Jews out there right now that are scared?
Well, we have to remember that everything that is happening in this world is cyclical. We went through many, many disasters, many tragedies, and everything else. So I was always an optimist, and I will die an optimist. I know that things will get worse, but eventually they will get better. The people, okay, will stand up, and the pendulum will swing back to the middle. To understand what I'm saying, because many times we use words and I do not give the opportunity to students or to other people to interpret what I say. I will tell you exactly what I say. Uh, the difference between a pessimist and an optimist is, I don't know if you heard that presentation, is a pessimist will see in every opportunity a problem. An optimist will see in every problem an opportunity. And let me give you an example so you people will understand what I mean by that. I was homeless and I was in a shelter. It was a time that I did not want to live. At the same time, I did not care if I live or if I die, and I was an extremely heavy smoker. So, in those dire situations, I said to myself, when I will quit smoking cold turkey, suddenly, that will be the beginning of my road to recovery. December 13th, if you're superstitious, Friday the 13th of 1996, I had my last cigarette. So this is a very good example, okay, that okay, being in a very difficult situation, okay, I saw an opportunity, okay, to recover.
Definitely. It's interesting that you say that. I was in the same documentary that I was watching last week about the Shoah. There was one historian that said that it was the pessimists that left prior to 1940, and it was the optimists who stayed because they thought that, oh, Germany will come back to the way it used to be. Don't worry about it. I know it's crazy right now, but it'll get better. And it's funny because I can relate so much to that with my views now and how I view the United States. How I view the United States right now is it feels like I feel so worried that we're going to lose this country to Jew hatred, and which is why I'm leaving it, is because after I was assaulted, the only thing I can think of is we have a country now, and during the Shoah, we did not. And so I'm going to take full advantage of the fact that we have a country now, and we do not have to be victims any longer.
The one thing that I just want to emphasize for everybody, number one, do not be afraid. Number two, okay, don't, okay, be yourself, do what you have to do, but do not lose hope. That is very, very important. Now, the other thing that I want also to mention, which I think it's very important, is, and you mentioned it already, but the way I say it, because we have to bring, I don't want anybody to make comparisons to the past. Times were different, attitudes were different, technology was different. Uh, but we have to learn how to combat what's happening today. We have to learn from the past. And my way of bringing the past to the present is to say, during the Holocaust, okay, uh, Jews died because they did not have a country. On Yom Zikaron, our National Memorial Day, we remember the people that died for us to have a country. All the tragedies in the world uh, have been accomplished because the world stood by and did nothing. So if you want to make any comparisons to the past, is that what's happening today, not only in the United States but worldwide, there are no consequences when people, okay, do the wrong thing. So right now, we live in a period of time when the right is wrong and the wrong is right. But let me also understand why I am such an optimist. Uh, you're probably too young and you don't remember the Cuban crisis with the missiles. You probably heard about it, but you don't know about it. Kennedy went to Khrushchev and told him to take out the missiles. And Khrushchev played dumb and he says, "What missiles? I don't have one." He says, "No problem, we'll go to war." All of a sudden, Khrushchev found the missiles. Okay, got rid of them, but he said to Kennedy, "I do not have to fight you militarily. You will destroy yourselves." It took 60 years, and little by little, people did not react in time and appropriately, and it kept escalating. So we are today. So it will take a long time. It's not going to happen suddenly. We have to weather it, okay? But things eventually will change. An example to understand what I mean is DEI. You heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the way it was implemented was racist. I talked about it, on TV. But interestingly enough, okay, after a while, people realized that it's not what it's supposed to be. And in the military, in major organizations, and other people, right now with Trump, the DI is for practical purposes, there are still places where they use it, but for practical purposes, it's gone. The same thing, we have to weather it and things will be better, but we will have to go through a very difficult period of time.
For sure. I'd like to go back and now, and then once the war was over, where did your family go? Just out of curiosity.
Say it again?
When the war finally ended in Europe, where did your family end up settling and where did you end up growing up
Well,
after the war?
well, the camp was in the former Soviet Union. Okay, today it's in Russia, that particular camp. However, after the war, for 2 years, we were somewhere in the former Soviet Union. I don't remember the specific cities. But because we were deported by the Romanians in 1946, the Romanian government allowed a small group of Jews from the former Soviet Union to repatriate. My father, being an anti-communist, chose the lesser of two evil and decided to go back to Romania. By the way, are you afraid of me?
No, of course not.
You should be.
Why?
I grew up in Transylvania. I'm the Jewish Dracula. So,
Drink your blood.
what happened is in 1961, after 12 years, we finally got the visa. We went to Israel. I served in the Israeli Air Force, 1962, 1965. And in 1968, I came to the United States by myself, without money and without the language. So I had to struggle. I was thinking of going back to Israel, but I did not want to go back feeling like a failure. After 5 years, I felt that I can make it. I decided to go back, and life plays interesting things. Uh, so I met my ex, got married, had my son, got divorced, went back to Israel in 1983. And in 1988, I came back. I did not want to go back where my son was. I lived for 15 years in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So New York was a transit city for me. But one thing led to the other, and right now New York is my last home.
What can you imagine? I mean, living in New York as you are right now, and I used to live in New York as well, and I remember it. I lived in New York from 2005 to 2011, and I used to live in a Jewish neighborhood, Midwood, and I'm shocked, quite frankly, at what I've seen.
It's
The
a very,
pogroms.
it's a very religious area. in
Yes, it
Brooklyn.
is. And to see all these anti-Zionists just going through there, being so disrespectful, so violent, what are your thoughts on how you see New York City changing?
Okay, there is a virus that can never be eradicated. That is bullying, bigotry, Jew hatred, hate, racism, and ideology. The only way it can be combated is only through education. And that's why I start with first graders. First, second, third grader, I talk about hate and bullying. With fourth graders, I start with the Holocaust before they are indoctrinated. And to give an example of what I mean by indoctrination, because in the United States there is no education, there is indoctrination. A friend of mine took me to Washington Square Park to meet with Gen Z, Holocaust deniers, and people from the Arab countries to talk what's happening in the Middle East. This woman from Pakistan in the mid-30s, when he asked her what her opinion is what's happening in the Middle East, genocide. No matter in which direction the conversation went, Genocide, genocide, genocide. Now remember that I came to the United States in 1968, 60 years ago, almost 60 years ago. And he said, well, I brought here a Holocaust survivor and somebody that served in the IDF. Obviously, she blamed Israel and the IDF for the genocide. She looked at me and she said, you are part of the problem. People do not know what indoctrination is. That is indoctrination. And the people that are indoctrinated, it's almost impossible to bring them, okay, to critical thinking. And that's why I start with very, very young people before they are indoctrinated.
That makes so much sense because I feel like that's also something I've been witnessing too, is just straight up indoctrination, especially where I live in California, where it is very hip and very cool right now to be an anti-Zionist. And I love what they always say, which is we don't hate Jews, we hate Zionists.
So let me
Meanwhile,
so let me ask you a question.
sure.
Okay, what is a Zionist?
A Zionist is somebody that believes that Jews have the ability to self-determine in their historic homeland.
Very good. Okay, very good. So this is basically so it has nothing to do with politics, absolutely with nothing. Okay, uh, there are 50 or 58 Arab countries. This is the only Jewish country in the world, and it's a tiny one. It's a speck surrounded by all the Arab countries. So when they say about the Zionists, I don't know what they are talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I also like to bring up to them too that there are 2 million Arab Israelis that are also Zionists living in Israel as well too. And so yeah, so you I also want to say this to you. I have so much respect for people that are immigrants because I am about to be an immigrant to another country. So when you shared with us previously that you came to the United States with pretty much nothing in your pockets, share with us what that experience is like because I know I'm terrified to leave my own country right now.
Well, like I told you, it's I came here on the promise that the second cousin, who was very, very wealthy, that he will help me. Obviously, promises made not kept, so I struggled, but I believed in myself. And I am a very confident person. Uh, so it took a while, but I made it.
Yes. It's that belief in oneself that I also have and which makes me not afraid to do these things and I also coach people into taking these steps that they might be afraid to do. If you were to talk to someone that were afraid to make any life changes, what would you tell them?
Well, there is only one constant in life: change.
That is true. That is very true. I know for me it's I
Now,
never want
now in my particular case, because of my age and because of having difficulty walking and everything else, I decided to go to assisted living. So I will move within the next 2 3 weeks. So I'm going from a close to about 650 square feet to 300, which for
what's that
me,
like?
but I made the decision, okay, that I needed, and once I make a decision, okay, I am fine. I don't know if you will be able to see it. Can you see?
No,
Probably.
it's blending into the background unfortunately. Oh, I can see yeah, I can see you now. Yeah.
Can you see what it says in the bottom?
No, it's too small.
Okay. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to be.
I
Everything
love
in
that.
life, what we do, okay,
I love that.
is a choice.
100%.
I decided, to come to your podcast. It was a choice. Uh, I could have said no, whatever it is. At the same time, I don't because I was homeless. And like I told you, I was in a shelter. I live in the most expensive city in the country and a monthly income of $1,649, which means that I don't have the best of everything, but I make the best of everything I have. So the Holocaust, the trials and tribulations that I went through, do not identify. A lot of
Yes.
people identify themselves by the beautiful house that they have, by their uh, spouse, by the money they have, by their profession, in many ways. I had a girlfriend, and when I introduced her to my friends, she used to say, "Hi, my name is Anita. I am bipolar. Who cares? Who asked you?"
Right.
But that was her identity. My identity, okay, is being Jewish, Israeli, in what I do. And this is to educate the next generation.
I am very lucky that my mother, who's actually watching right now, raised me with the belief, and I heard this constantly growing up, you are not a victim, you are a survivor. And so that is something that I have always told myself from a young age. And I've survived cancer, I've survived many, many things in this life. And I've done exactly what you said. Don't identify with your oppression, but overcome it.
And by overcoming, you become a kinder, better person.
100%. We have some questions. My mom would like to ask you, Sammy,
Yes.
have you been back to the area you were born, and
No,
did you ever visit the Holocaust area?
the Holocaust is not where I was, okay, but I was in something called March of the Living. Have you heard of it?
I have, yes.
So for the audience, this is taking students. Adults is a separate group, but they take only 11th, 12th graders for 2 weeks, 1 week in Poland, 1 week in Israel. So the Yom HaShoah is celebrated in Poland, Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day, and the Independence Day in Israel. We are also the only group of people that we believe in life. So as soon as the Memorial Day ends, right away we go to celebrating the independence. When I was in the most infamous death camp, Auschwitz-Birkenau, I was this year. I was honored to light the seventh torch. Six torches for the 6 million people that were murdered. The seventh one for the rebirth of Israel. And you will be able to see it on YouTube. And I was also given the opportunity to say a few words to the world. At the same time, I am blessed in many, many, many ways. Recently, I spoke in Pittsburgh to schools. And the person that invited me, she is part of the Stand With Us organization. She arranged that the controller in the city council declared June 2nd in Pittsburgh Sami Steigmann Day. I'm, wait,
Aww.
I'm waiting right now, next year, to see a big parade, which will never happen. but it's still a great honor.
That's
And
amazing. What are you going to do for your first Sami Steigmann Day?
nothing. I don't know if I will be invited in Facebook. I will enjoy it. So okay, but I'm saying, I'm very honored. So I have many awards.
And then Phyllis was asking, Sammy, do you think Mom Donnie is adding fuel to the fire with regards to the growing anti-Semitism?
Well, he is representing a movement. He is not a socialist. He is a communist. The role of a communist, of the communist, is to destroy, what we have, and to build something new. And the way he talks, what he wants to do, and everything else. And I said this, in different rallies. I said that you're not a socialist. You never lived in one. You don't know what socialism is. You are a communist. So this, the whole DSA, the whole thing, is basically destroying America as we know it, and to build something totally different. And if you look, for instance, at the former Soviet Union, a communist country, it took them 70 years, but guess what? They're gone.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not sustainable. Okay, and to have everything for free, uh, it's not sustainable. All the socialist countries, like Romania, they don't exist anymore. Uh, they became part of the West.
Yeah. One of the things I hear young kids that are on the left saying now is, well, all these other countries didn't do communism the right way. We'll do it the right way. What are your thoughts when you hear that?
Well, number one, they're ignorant. Okay? Number two, they don't know what they're talking about. They like everything free, but everything free, everything costs money, and it's not sustainable. So, like Mondani wants to do free buses, okay, where is he going to get the money?
Exactly.
If he's going to tax the rich people, they will leave New York, so they will have less money than he has right now. So, I mean, they don't know what they're talking about, and we will survive. We survived the de Blasio, we survived other people, we will survive here.
And now you've also been to some of the protests that are happening in New York City, right?
Yes.
So I haven't been able to go to any of them. What's it been like to be out there with the rest of the Jewish community standing strong and united in New York City together?
Well, like I said, okay, nothing can be accomplished without the media. And I don't know how many people know about it, but the principal in Brooklyn, in the middle school, MS 447, denied the mother to invite me to speak to her son's school. There was a very big outcry, but at the same time, the media was involved. And because the media was involved, the decision has been reversed, and I was able to speak there. So the media is complicit what's happening in this country and worldwide. And whatever you do, if you don't bring the media, nothing will happen. Now, what I would like to do is to talk how the Holocaust happened.
Please.
Uh, People have misconceptions how it happened when it happened. It started with the end of World War I. In the Treaty of Versailles, there were three punishments that were so severe that the German people lost their national pride. Number one, they had to return all the occupied land. They could not have an army. I have seen pictures that in the military parade, instead of guns, they had shovels. And number three, they had to pay reparations to all the countries they fought against. That caused inflation. All of us are aware of personal inflation. You can go to the store, to different places, and you can see that the prices went down. But very few people pay attention to the national debt. The United States is in debt of $40 trillion.
Wow.
Nobody knows what it is. Okay. And you, your children, your grandchildren, great grandchildren will have to pay for it. What happened is in 1917, $1 was worth 4 German money. At the height of the inflation in 1923, $1 was worth 1 trillion German money. And when I say that here there is no education, there is indoctrination, seventh graders in Germany knew the answer. So you can understand the conditions. That's why I don't want anybody to make comparison. The conditions that allowed somebody like Hitler to come to power. And when we go through a trauma, personal trauma, national trauma, there is a tendency to blame somebody else or circumstances. So Hitler, including his Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, said, that a lie told long enough, becomes truth. And at the same time, he also said, German people, we are suffering because, and started to blame two groups of people. Number one, the communists. They were feared. And number two, the Jews. And he was extremely, I would say, a dark genius, but he was a genius in propaganda. And in 1932, during the elections, 30% of the German people voted for him. The other thing was that in its initial goal regarding the Jews was not to murder them. It was to have a Germany free of Jewish people. But why would the Jews want to leave? They lived there for centuries. They were considered themselves Germans. They were proud Germans. They fought for Germany in World War I. They lived for centuries there. So what happened is, to make them leave in 1935, they came out with the Nuremberg laws. During the Nuremberg laws, the Germans were not yet violent, but they made it very, very difficult for them. So a lot of the Jews left. Where did they go? To neighboring countries, Europe. The Jewish leaders said this is the most enlightened country in the world. Don't leave. Things will get better. So a number of people, I would say about 200,000, remained in Germany, but the fact that they fought for Germany and everything else did not help. Like I said, I'm repeating it, they were not yet violent. Their worldwide success as far as PR was during 1936 and the Olympics in Berlin. And the next stage, people knew what's happening, but they did not react in time. So things kept escalating. So in 1938, they annexed a neighboring country, Austria. And people have to make a difference between annexation and occupation. Occupation is done by the military and it's temporary. Annexation, that means that the country that has been annexed is part of the country that annexed it. So right now, when they annexed Austria, they became part of the Greater Germany. And in Greater Germany, in November 9, November 10, okay, there were 2 days of riots sponsored by the state. Okay, they murdered over 100 Jews. They destroyed over 7,500 stores and synagogues and put in prison 30,000. Those 2 days of riots are known as Crystal Nacht, the Nights of Broken Glass. This was the first time that the Germans actually became violent. Now, also what happened during that time, there was an operation called T4. For the German government, the mentally and physically ill Germans were considered a financial burden. So they did medical experiments to them and primitively they murdered them. There was a priest. They found out, and that's why it's important not to be afraid to talk. He made it public. There was a big outcry in Germany and also in Austria, but especially in Germany. And guess what? The killings stopped. Do you know what happened to the priest?
Did he die?
Nothing.
I'm shocked. Truly shocked. I would have figured they would have killed him somehow.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. People will attack you only if you are weak, if you are afraid. If you are not afraid, they will not attack you.
Amazing.
That's what people do not understand. Okay, comes the next stage, September 1st, 1939. I'm not going to ask you questions. You may know, you may not know, it's irrelevant. I will explain. Comes the next stage. And people did not, you see what happens when people react in time. The media is involved. September 1st, 1939. And they attacked Poland. World War II started. And in Germany proper, they did not want any Jews. And in Poland, they found 3.3 million Jews. What the hell do you do with them? That came the idea of exterminating them. As a matter of fact, the Nazis and their collaborators murdered 11 million people. 6 million were Jews, but 5 million were not Jewish people. So therefore, the Holocaust is a universal humanitarian issue. It's not a Jewish issue. And also the Holocaust was industrialized murder. It was run like a factory. And half of the victims, okay, that were murdered by the Nazis came from Poland, 3 million. The next stage is coming, is Operation Barbarossa. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So a lot of your audience will learn history, but in a different way. In Operation Barbarossa on June 22nd, 1941, Germany broke their agreement with the former Soviet Union not to attack each other, and they attacked former Soviet Union. Behind them were special mobile squads. These were not fighting forces. They were real criminals. Their job was to murder Jews and other Russians and other minorities. And behind them were the Romanian troops. And they annexed an area of the former Soviet Union called Transnistria. And that's why it was reported by the Romanians and not by the Germans. And the camp was liberated in 1944. So again, it became part of the former Soviet Union. Being only a year and a half, obviously I have no memory of that period of time. And the Holocaust survivor wanted the children to have a normal childhood, so they did not talk about it. being only a year and a half, and if you will ask any survivor how come you're alive, almost without exception, everybody will say only one word: luck. My luck was that I was never separated from my parents. I was subjected to medical experiments. Uh, I have suffered, I am suffering, and will suffer for the rest of my life, but you will not see it on my face from head, neck, shoulders, arms, and back. Because at my age, I also have difficulty walking long distances, going on an incline and climbing stairs. Interestingly enough, you will not see it on my face. I have a very high pain tolerance. So, what happened is I found out about it that I was subjected to medical experiments only when I was 31 years old.
Wow, you found out at 31 that that happened. How did you feel learning that at that point in
I
time?
went to the doctors and they could not find a reason because, like backache, there are no tests to test backache, and they have to see on your face how painful it is. I knew how it would affect me, but they couldn't see it on my face, so they did not believe me. What happened is in 1971, my parents came to visit me from Israel, and after a short walk, uh, when they came into the house, they saw me on the floor, unable to move. In shock. For 31 years, I was able to hide it from my parents. My father mentioned to me that I was subjected to medical experiments. He did not help me with the pain, but he gave me the courage to ask for compensation. And even here in the States, you will not get a single cent unless you have solid proof. Number one, my father told me that's hearsay. I was homeless. I had no documents. And when I applied, I had no witnesses. Everybody was gone, including my parents. So I did it just for myself, not expecting an answer. That was on February 8th, 2002. And on January 26th, okay, 2004, not only did I get an answer, but I got paid. It was not based on my records. The Holocaust is the most recorded crime in human history. They
Were they
destroyed
able to find your record specifically?
They paid me. Okay, so obviously, okay. People ask me, don't you want to know what they did? And I said, no, it takes too much negative energy. It's a lot of money, many years. But let me do something positive and educate the next generation. Much more important. Okay, comes now after that comes the final stage. January 20, 1942. At the city which today is part of Berlin, Wannsee, 15 high-ranking Nazi criminals decided the final solution to the Jewish question. That is the official name they gave it to the Holocaust. They came out with a list of all of the European countries, and depending on the source, 9.5 to 11 million Jews. Once they were going to murder all of the European Jews, they were going to open up a museum in Prague. They were going to call it the Museum of the Extinct Race. Okay, so the question is, how did the Germans convince the world to participate in trying to annihilate the Jewish people? When you call a person by the name of an animal, like cops, they call them pigs, okay, or other names. Uh, they call the Jews, okay, as rats. Why specifically rats? Because rats, like Jews, are very small in number and they live all over the world, but they spread disease. And by portraying the Jews as rats, they convince the world that the Jews are a danger not only to Germany, but to the world. So What I'm trying to say is people look what's happening today. They don't look at the past. And things kept escalating because the world did not react in time and appropriately. And this is what all the changes in the world have been accomplished by young people. And they have to learn from the past to know how to prevent future tragedies. It will take a long time, but eventually things will get better.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because I believe I feel like I was born in 1979, and I feel like I was born into a post-Holocaust world, which for, 40 some odd years at least, had at least taught people, and I feel like did Holocaust education to try to bring down the levels of anti-Semitism in places like America. And so when October 7th happened and I started seeing those hatreds rising in my own home of America, I was truly, truly shocked. But you've been around for so much longer. What do you remember from after the post-war period in the world about how people thought of or treated Jews?
Well, I don't pay attention to them. Okay, I do what I can do. Uh, my way, everybody has the opportunity to do something about it. Whether they do it or not, that's up to them. But we are in this world to fulfill, okay, a mission. Correct. One thing that I also want to mention something, which I think is very important. The UN is a cesspool of hate.
Agreed. Agreed.
Israel is vilified disproportionately to anybody else. And I'll give you two examples. Number one, everybody talks about Israel. No Jews, no news. Okay, in Sudan, they murdered, okay, 4 million people. Nobody talks about it. In Congo, okay, 500,000. Everybody only about Israel. In UN, Israel is vilified disproportionately. However, Israel has been able to pass two resolutions. Number one, November 2005, which is known today as the International Holocaust Remembrance Day, January 27, when Auschwitz-Birkenau was liberated by the Red Army. Number two, it was in 2022, January 20, okay, and the resolution is against the Holocaust deniers. And it was at the 80th anniversary of the Wannsee Conference when they decided the final solution to the Jewish question. By the way, I was very honored. I was invited for a photo op. I was invited to be to that historic moment. And even Iran did not dare to ask for a vote. It passed by acclamation.
Wow.
The second, okay, resolution.
Interesting.
So there is a lot of things that people do not know, and unless you learn from the past, you will not know how to prevent future tragedies. And when I'm talking about the Holocaust, uh, every person goes through trauma. For that person, it's very, very painful. People went through cancer, but they went through many things like in your case. So it's very painful for that particular person. So I don't dwell on the Holocaust. I use it as a teaching tool to understand for people listening to me. They are witnesses of the Holocaust that happened, and because I do it most of the time in person, at the same time I can engage. On Zoom, it's almost impossible to do that. So that's
Yes.
why I prefer to do it in person, and I don't travel anymore for fun, but I will travel anywhere in the world if it can be arranged for me to speak. Have you heard of Church of Scientology?
Of course, I've heard of the Church of Scientology.
Guess what?
What?
The Holocaust must be taught forever and ever. It's the best example what hate can do to a person, to a group of people, to a nation, and to the world. And I spoke at the Church of Scientology, and people prejudge. And guess what? I don't prejudge. They did not try to recruit me. They re-invited me, and they were extremely nice.
They treated you with respect and kindness.
Thank you.
There we go. Well, Sami, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for being such an open book, being so willing to share, and for educating our viewers. I cannot tell you how much of a pleasure it's been for me to spend time with you.
And can I have another few minutes?
Of course. Go ahead.
During the October 7th, I went through the gamut of emotions, everything that you can think of. I was not surprised that he did it. What shocked me was their barbarism. People try to compare it with the Holocaust, and I say, please don't. Even the Nazis were not that brutal. If you have to make comparisons, compare it to the brutality of ISIS. And, okay, to the world, I have a very strong message. We are here to stay, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. We ain't going nowhere.
Am Yisrael.
Exactly. Am Yisrael Thrive. The Jewish people live. I don't know if you've ever seen the Netflix show Hunters, but it's about the Holocaust, and it takes place in the 1970s. And one of the Nazis was living in hiding in America, and he meets a Jewish woman who gets invited to his home for a barbecue. And it was a Jewish woman that he had tried to kill in one of the camps, and she recognized him. And one of the last things she said to him was, "We survived. You failed." And that's exactly what I think of every single time I meet another Jew. They will never take all of us out.
No. And the Holocaust cannot happen again, okay, because of the technology, okay, everything is instant, okay. So they can destroy, with the nukes, they can destroy Israel, but not the Jews from all over the world. And if they will try to do that, Israel will not go quietly, and it will be a worldwide nuclear war. Israel will not go quietly.
Most definitely.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
If you want another time, if you have other questions, if the audience wants to ask questions or something, then we can do. I can stay as long as you want, or you can do another podcast.
I think we're good for today. Everyone's just saying that you're amazing. Love and blessings to you. Thank you so much for telling us what happened. A lot of us don't know about this. So people are feeling so thankful that you came on here today. And I would love to do a part 2 in the future.
Very good. Very good.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend out there. Thank you for tuning in to Am Yisrael Thrive. And now.